Have you ever been in a meeting or sat in a professional conversation where you really want to contribute and you know the people sitting at the table are excellent experts and they're credible? And you're just thinking, you know, there's an English word that you know you have to use in a situation like this. Or a specific sentence or phrase that's not going to steal from your credibility, but it just doesn't come to mind. You know that feeling where you're just like blank and you're like, oh my goodness, let me just quickly Google it under the table. And then you try and read it, but the more you read it, you're like, now I'm even more confused as to now how do I use this in a normal conversational way? Because with English, it's not always just about the grammar. It is about how do I say this so that I can keep on using it when it's necessary in those conversations? Because, man, what the English? That's exactly why we created this segment for people like you that are tired of struggling with how to use English phrases, grammar, and sentences in the workplace.
What the English?
And that's why we've invited you to send your voice notes to our WhatsApp line where we will play your voice notes right here on the segment. We've invited our expert English for Business teacher that's going to answer each question for you so that you can clear that fog with the What the English segment. Let's hear what the first voice note has to say.
Hi, Lebo and Palesa. I hope you're both well. So, I struggle a lot with emails at work. I read them again and again and again because I don't want to sound rude or disrespectful. And sometimes I find myself adding way too many please and sorries. How can I write professional emails in English and still sound respectful, especially as a woman?
Okay, yep. So that is definitely, I think, something that a lot of people struggle with. Not only women, but yes, I think women do possibly struggle with it a little bit more in the workplace, trying to find the balance of how to be assertive but still respectful. So, one thing I think to consider is that in professional English, it's important to be polite but not necessarily emotional. And there are ways that you can do that by using grammar and changing your grammar so that you still have that professionalism, but you are not constantly using those pleases and those thank yous or those sorries unnecessarily or overly. So, the first thing that I would recommend is using modal verbs. Now, modal verbs are these words like can, could, would, might, may. They are used to make your speech sound more polite. So, the way that you could use modal verbs is to replace those pleases with a modal verb. For example, if you were to say, please send me the report on Friday, you could replace that with, could you send me the report by Friday? Now, while please is okay to use in those contexts, if you find yourself using please way too often, then I think replacing it with those modal verbs is a good option. Also, another thing to remember is to stick to one please per sentence. So I think that a lot of people will say, please, can you send me this, please? Remember to stick to one either in the beginning or at the end. Full stop. That's it. Now, that's one way that you could do that. So, to reduce those pleases. Another thing that you could do is to use the passive voice instead of the active. So, in situations where you feel like maybe you need to do something or you've been asked to do something, maybe you feel like there's a little bit of pressure on you, instead of saying, I need to update the files, you could change it into the passive to say, the files need to be updated. In that way, you're taking the pressure off of yourself or taking the attention off of you and putting it onto the action that needs to be done. And lastly, another thing you could do to replace those sorries is rather than saying, for example, sorry for the late reply, you can rather show appreciation for the other person's time. So, thank you for your patience. Or rather than saying, sorry to bother you, because maybe it's not a bother to people, you could say, thank you for your time. So, show appreciation rather than apologizing for something that you don't need to apologize for.
Wow, I love the modal verbs. I think that is a game changer. Just listening to how you switch from the pleases to the could you, that sounds more polished from the way in which you've put that together. I know this is definitely going to help you when it comes to sending those emails where you want to be polite. However, you don't want to come across as if though you are extremely lacking with regards to your vocabulary. Thank you so much, Lebu. That was amazing. Remember to keep sending us your voice notes to the What the English segment. Our number is 071 184 8406. And I'll have our expert again help you with regards to your English for Business questions. Until we see you again, say it with me, Lebu. They must remain unforgettable. Next time.